Nrgy here. I have to say something. I am so proud of those who have reached out this year. I've noticed an increase in those who have reached out regarding what to do or maybe better things to do when it comes to making a decision regarding getting a tax refund. So that is promising. That is letting me know that people are actually paying attention to their own finances. Maybe people are paying attention to the channel. And so in a lot of the one-on-one, the 15-minute strategy sessions, I don't know if you all are aware, but I do have a 15-minute strategy session that is complimentary right now. It is complimentary, and people have been taking advantage of it. And specifically, and understandably so, because we are in still our tax season right here. And so we are a little less than 10 days from the April 15th date. And I said, okay, let me make a full video, but I do have to make it more generic, of course, here, but taking the concepts and the strategies and the talking points that I've done in these one-on-one strategy sessions, and we're going to bring it here to the public. We're going to bring it here to this channel so everyone can take advantage of the tidbits that have been talked about in an effort to basically help answer questions of what do I do with my tax refund, or what do I do with my tax return if I'm getting one. And this is going to be just good steps or maybe a good guideline for anyone that may get a couple of $100 or maybe you get a couple of $1,000. And so pick out of this what you can pick out of this, what may make sense for you and your family or you and your household. And we still have time left, so feel free to also take advantage of the strategy session that I do offer on my website, coachnrgy.com, coachnrgy, Nrgy.com, so we can talk more specifically about your numbers. Let me also preface this by saying I am not a financial advisor, but I am able to talk in regards to creating a budget. But anything in particular, any tax advice, any sort of financial advice, definitely reach out to a financial advisor or maybe your own tax preparer to get more into the weeds of things if needed, if necessary, just depending on your situation. But for today, we are going to talk generally and give some good guidelines that have been shared in these one-on-ones. So here we go. So the main focus of this episode or video is going to answer the questions of what do I do with my refund or my return? And I want to help people be more impactful with the money that they do receive if they are receiving something. All right, so here we go. The first thing, my suggestion, the first thing that I would say to do is to get caught up on those absolute necessities. So you may have heard it talked about or described as like your four walls. So that would be like your housing. So if you are behind on your rent or your mortgage, you want to make sure that you're paying that up with whatever amount that you have. Pay that up. You want to cover the roof that's over your head, the roof that's over your family's head. Also, as a part of the housing portion, we also want to take care of any I might tie this into the utilities, because utilities would also be a part of what you want to take care of. That is a part of the necessity. So if you're behind on any utilities, your water bill, your power bill, your gas bill, if you have gas at your location. But in addition to that, the other thing that I want to add in, let's just say if there are repairs that are needed at your house that may be in dire need to get those repairs taken care of because it is a hazard of some sort, maybe depending especially with now us being in this time of year where it's starting to get warmer. So do you have any sort of or form or resource of AC, whether it be a window unit, whether it be your actual what do they call it, the central heating and air? Does that work? Because especially depending on your location, those summer months, these spring months even, but definitely the summer months, they can be brutal. So that would be an example of a repair that would be of need to take care of if needed. Let's just say if you know, especially with the wintertime, that people have experienced, especially lately, where the winter has just been so bitter cold. Can you go ahead and use that money to get the repairs done to your heater, your heating unit, or maybe your furnace, to go ahead and get it repaired and operable for in time for when that new winter season comes around. So those are just some examples of your housing, and then as well as the utilities of things that you could first put your money towards, your refund towards, once you do receive it. The next thing would be taking care of transportation. So depending on if you have access to public transportation or not, if you don't and you have an actual vehicle, is that vehicle in safe running conditions? So let's just say, as far as transportation, are your tires are they safe to continue to ride on? Or do you need to maybe buy a semi-used or new tire to replace what is currently on your vehicle, where you may not have had the money to be able to do that? So that's just an example. Also, are you finding yourself here and there maybe running into issues of not having gas money? So maybe go ahead and take care of filling your tank up with gas, and maybe putting just a little bit to the side for those weeks whenever a check is light, or if a check didn't come in at all, if you didn't get a client to book or close, or whatever your situation is. Put a little bit to the side maybe for just that gas in a slight emergency type of thing. But we are going to talk about an emergency fund specifically, so I'm actually going to pause on that point right now. The other thing that would be considered a necessity in this first category would be food. So, do you have food for your home? Now, this is where you have to be really mindful of what type of food that you're buying. So, it doesn't mean to go and spend on all of this expensive food. Like, the first thing that comes to mind, I really want to try not to say it. I'm going to say something else. Let's say like steaks and things like that. Something along the like that really, really expensive, top of the line type of food. Not to say to go buy junk food, because you still want to make sure that you are spending money on nutritional food, but be mindful of how much you're spending. Just at least get your staples down. That's how I like to say it. Go ahead and cover your staples that you and your family may need to get you through the week, the next couple of weeks, with your tax refund. So that's going to be the main four sections in those four pillars, the four walls that I would say to pay attention to first, or to apply your money towards first. The next thing, and number two and number three will kind of go a little bit hand in hand as I explain it. But the next thing would be to pay off or pay towards, if you can't pay it completely off, pay off or pay towards any sort of unnecessary debt that you may have. So that may be like your high interest credit cards, or personal lines of credit, or personal loans that you may have out there. The new thing, the buy now, pay later. So you have like your Klarna, Affirm, Afterpay, Sezzle. Is Sezzle even still around? I haven't heard anything about Sezzle lately, but I do remember them being one of the first companies that were out when the buy now, pay later came about. So do you have debt? Do you have balances on those cards or those types of accounts? If so, you want to go ahead and pay those off or pay those down, because the longer that you're holding on to those balances, the longer that it's keeping you from being able to start saving. And so the next thing that actually kind of takes me to point number three is to create a quick, I say quick, emergency fund. And what has been a very good balance to start off with is $1,000. And I totally agree with that. I follow that principle as well. So you want to try to create an emergency savings fund, a little quick account, a little small account. I say that because I am going to talk about a bigger account in my next point. But having $1,000 in your emergency fund is great to give you a little bit of breathing room for when life happens, not if life happens, but when life happens. So that could be things like what I talked about earlier, as far as like with your housing. Let's just say if a heater goes out or your AC goes out, typically somewhere within $1,000, you can cover at least some form of repair, maybe not a full replacement, depending on what your unit specifically is. But that's where you can at least cover something to get you and your family through until you get the money to be able to do a full repair or replacement if it does cost several thousands of dollars. Let's see, another one would be another example of why having the $1,000 emergency savings fund is important is transportation. So I talked about that earlier. But so let's just say if you run over a nail or a screw and your tire, goes flat. And if it can't be repaired, it has to be fully replaced. Well, you can definitely cover at least one, two, or all four, depending on what brand tires that you purchase. You can definitely cover tire replacement within that $1,000 emergency savings amount. Let's say if something else goes wrong with the vehicle mechanically, typically, depending on what type of vehicle that you drive, of course, typically something that happens with a car mechanically can be covered within a couple of $100 or at least within that $1,000 in order to continue to get the vehicle to drive, depending on who you go to, who your mechanic is, and the type of vehicle, of course. But that $1,000 can absolutely go a long way. And worst case scenario, if you don't have enough money, let's just say if that $1,000 does not cover the vehicle repair in its entirety, you can at least rent a vehicle temporarily to still get you transportation to keep your routine going of getting to work, so you're not missing out on the hours and the checks that you're going to need to be able to then pay off the repairs for your vehicle. And or if you have kids, that's going to allow you to still get your kids to and from school without missing a beat. So those are just some examples. Or even one more, let's just say medically. If there's something going on, if there's something that may happen from a health standpoint, from a medical standpoint, that $1,000 will be able to help you with at least a copay, depending on what's going on, depending what happens, depending on your insurance coverage. If you have insurance, if you don't have insurance, that $1,000 can at least typically get you to be seen by a doctor or at least through the doors of an urgent care. So we're just trying to cover those immediate things that may happen, which we would consider an emergency. So therefore, your life doesn't feel like it just has to come to a complete halt, and that you are able to still have that momentum going, have that motion going, and buy you some time to get things taken care of. So those are just some examples of why $1,000, even though it's a small emergency fund, those are some of the reasons of why that is, in the way that I like to explain it, is important to have. So then that leads me to the next point. So let's say, so we're done with point 1, 2, and 3. The next thing would be, the word that I'm going to use is investment, but pause, not necessarily investing in like the stock market or what are the other things that are out here, crypto, all that type of stuff. Not necessarily investing in those things yet. When I say investment, I more so am talking about investing in things that will have a quicker ROI, a quicker return on your investment. I'm actually going to just kind of allude to my prior video. So if you haven't checked that prior video out, go check it out. I believe it was something along the lines of how to stop living from paycheck to paycheck. And so in that particular video, I went more into detail about things that you can do as examples of things to invest in that will then help bring you quicker income, another stream of income, in order to help you get out of whatever the current situation of living check to check in that video example. It will help you get out of that situation a little bit quicker without necessarily having to invest hundreds of dollars into something, or investing your last few dollars when you actually need those dollars, when you and your family, your household could actually use those few dollars to be able to do something with from a day to day or a week to week or a month to month standpoint. You can put those dollars to better use, to better work, if you are doing it strategically. So just a quick example here. I'm not going to go into detail because there's a whole video prior to this one. There's a whole video about that. But a quick example would be, using myself as an example, maybe taking a little bit of your return and investing in whatever gig or small business that you can do, such as, for me, photography. I talked about it by being able to invest in a camera, or in your case, maybe a camera, equipment, maybe a computer, something that, or maybe an external hard drive that gives you, or upgrading your RAM or your storage, your memory, all of that type of stuff on your computer, to where it gives you more processing power, more processing abilities to be able to do the things that may include like AI or designing or whatever. Especially with the times that we're living in now, those are the ones that I'm thinking about using a computer for. But also, again, the photography could be, if you are into photography, let that be something that you can consider investing in, if that's something that you're naturally good at and that you are passionate about, and that is a God-given talent that you have, that you are aware of, and that piques your interest. I want to give one more example if I can, but I can't think of anything else, and I do want to try to keep this video short. Um, okay, I'll just stop there though. I'll just stop there. Other examples have been shared in the previous video, but basically look into your own life and see what it is that you can make money on, or make money with, that you are naturally good at, in order to then help you start making money within like a week, maybe 2 weeks at the most. That's how I want you to think about it. Find something that will allow you to make money, excuse me, fairly quickly, within a week or two, so you can start building that stream of income. So that's what I mean when I talk about investment, in this particular sense of people who are just wanting to make sure that they do better with the refund that they do receive. Now, I already talked about that I'm not a financial advisor. So this is definitely where me just being a coach will come out, because I do want to add in one more piece that I know and truly believe and know that it is important for people to do. So for me, the next step, what is it? Maybe number 5, if I think I've lost count, but it may be step number 5, is to, again, you have to be really mindful and be really intentional, but do something that will you boost you personally, I guess would be the best way to say it. Just give you a boost. Let me say it that way. Do something that will give you a boost, and it needs to be something super small, because by this time, at this point of going in the order of how I'm describing everything, there might be just a little bit left over. And so what we want to do, and when I say a little, I literally mean a little. $5, $10, 20, 100, depending on where you are when it comes to the amount of your refund, and taking care of all of those other necessities first. So what is number 5? Do something good for you, do something fun. So that could be saying, hey, you know what? I am going to go to this amazing yogurt shop. I'm going to get my favorite yogurt, and I'm going to get all the toppings that I want. This is my treat to myself. This is my reward to myself. That's what I mean by something small, but something that will give you a boost. Other examples could be maybe saying, okay, my family, we live around the corner from a park. We're going to go get sandwiches from our favorite sandwich shop, and we're going to just come out and enjoy the weather, and take blankets and pillows, and we're just going to have a good time. But we are going to spend the money on buying our favorite sandwiches and snacks or fruits in order to enjoy this particular day. Just some examples, but I want you to do something that will where you're rewarding yourself, where you're allowing yourself to feel that sense of that moment of relief, that moment of being able to say, okay, there's a lot going on, or there was a lot that life brought me last year, or even now at this point this year. I need a moment to just be able to enjoy life, even if just for a moment, even if just for a little bit of money. So those are my examples of, generally speaking, of just some guidelines to help people understand what to do, or to answer the question of how to budget their refund, things that they should do or think about or just consider when it comes to receiving their tax return or their tax refund, and doing it in a way of being impactful. Because a lot of people, based off of the calls that I've received, when I say calls, those who have booked appointments on my calendar, and those calls, and then also just in conversations that I've been having, and seeing some things that's going on, or ways of how people are talking about what they're doing with their tax refund online. And so this is just my way of being able to help those who truly just don't know what to do, and they don't want to just spend it the wrong way. They want to be more strategic with how they handle their tax refund or tax return. Again, I am not a financial advisor, but I am absolutely a life coach, a relationship coach that will be able to help you with creating a budget that will work for you and your family and your household. But if you do need specific tax advice, legal advice, please reach out to those particular experts. If you want to take advantage of what I was referring to earlier at the beginning of this call, which is my 15-minute strategy session. There is a 15-minute strategy session where we are able to connect one-on-one for 15 minutes, and we drill down. You bring to me one area, one issue, one area of life that you need quick focus on, and you need a quick plan created, a quick strategy created. Take advantage of that. As of right now, it is complimentary. Go to the link in my description. It is coachnrgy.com, Nrgy, coachnrgy.com. If this was helpful for you, or maybe someone else, and you believe that this can be helpful to someone that you know, share this video. Hit the thumbs up button. Put your comments below. Add more information that can be helpful as well. Again, I'm just keeping it really general here, but add more information that may be helpful, and let me know if there are any other types of points or subjects, or general ideas that you may want me to speak on. Remember, in the description, there is also a link to where you can submit your question or your topic for me to talk about, and I will get around to recording a video that talks about whatever you submitted. All right, y'all. Until next time, talk to you soon. Bye.